Hi, folks. Welcome to session 5 of our Van 201 course. Today, we're going to talk about tracking and prioritizing your voter contact. This will probably be the most tech-heavy component that you will be dealing with in this training webinar, just because a lot of this is going to be built upon either Excel or Google Sheets, and it's going to require being familiar with some various but fairly simple Excel equations. Those are available in the slide deck for folks to copy and paste when they get that. More or less, if you just can copy and paste those, you'll be good. There will also be a sample that'll be available with this that folks can access to see how everything works. So with that, let's just go ahead and dive in. This is going to probably be another long one. So with our agenda today, just some of the things we're going to go over is going to be just a planning and targeting recap for you, the importance of and what is a tracker, how to build one out, going over our precinct density ranks, again, as well as being able to put sort of everything we're talking about together with the precinct prioritization and the turf tracker together with our density ranks in an Excel sheet. That way you not only have the door counts, phone counts, people counts of your universe, but you also can match that to the density ranks so that you know, based upon the size and the population, what is likely the densest precinct and which the least dense are. So with that, I think this should be a familiar song and dance for folks. Our district profiles gave folks a lot of key numbers that can help you with your campaign, including your turnout, your win number, your base votes, and your vote deficit, all things that will then go into building your campaign universe, whether it's your base universe of everyone you want to talk to, or the various subsets and programs such as persuasion, mobilization, and GOTV universes. So moving on here, we're going to talk about universe trackers, which are also commonly known as turf trackers. So once you have your universe and you want to start voter contact, one of the things you need to do before you really go knock a door is create a breakdown of your total targets. So your total number of voters, total number of doors, total number of phones by precinct to track these efforts, aka the turf tracker. You can keep these in an Excel sheet, but I would ideally say Google Sheets. Uh, so first and foremost, this way it is not something that is going to be prone to any vote builder glitch, such as if you just have all of your turfs assigned out in my turfs. Not the best way to keep track of that. Keeping all of this in a Google Sheet is a lot better. That way, you can keep track of not only when you're knocking it, but when you're calling it, and when the last time you actually did knock it was when you cut the turf. When you cut the turf, that way you know you've knocked it within 30 days. And then secondly, but probably one of the things that is the greatest thing about Google Sheets is it's going to be more easily accessible amongst your staff, your super volunteers, and even other campaigns if you are working with them. So say you're a state Senate race and you have a couple of House races in the same area that you're working with. You want to make sure you all are talking to one another so you're not putting your canvassers in right after the other campaign's canvassers. Having this shared Google Sheet will let you know how long it's been since a precinct was knocked, if it's been knocked, things like that. Also, with it being in a Google Sheet, you're also going to be able to sort. You'll be able to. It will allow sorting. That way, you can sort precincts by various methods. So, if you're doing precinct prioritization, you might want to see which are your most dense precincts with the most doors, which precincts might be more rural areas, but they have a good amount of phones. Things like that that are very much the bread and butter of what a Excel or Google Sheet can do. So here is what a sample tracker looks like. We're going to build one of these on our own, but just wanted to give folks an idea of what this looks like here. So let's just go over to it. This is a demo that everyone will have, or a sample everyone will have access to create their own. With this one, we are doing Congressional District 4 and breaking it out by county. So things like this, we have a summary page that lets you know how many precincts are in each county, how many doors do you have targeted in the county, how many precincts have been completed, how many are in progress, and how many do you still need to start. Base universe, this kind of just gives you your entire district by county, precinct, and voter counts. This is one we will build out whenever we build our tracker together. Then your various counties. I'm just going to go to Bracken County because it's got the least amount of precincts so that you can see it. So you can see this is right now just in alphabetical order: Augusta East, Augusta West, so on and so forth. But along with this, we have precinct. But along with precinct name, we have how many voters are in your universe, how many targeted doors, how many targeted phones, Canvas status. So has it been started? Is it in progress? Is it complete? And all those are various drop downs. And then just some counts to get an idea of how many turfs will you likely have based upon how many doors there are. Same with phones. When was the last time it was cut? When was it called? What's the overall precinct status? So things like this are the reason you want to have this in a Google Sheet that you can share with folks, because as you start your voter contact efforts, you'll be able to share this, see everything in one location, and not necessarily have to go over to the vote builder. So that's the 101 of our sample tracker. So let's just go over everything in a little bit more detail. I know I just talked about it a second ago while we were looking through it together, but turf tracker components, you're always going to want to have your precinct level information, because this is the base level at which campaigns should be cutting turf. You want to make sure, again, since we're talking about a turf tracker, you want to be able to track what precincts you have knocked, when they were knocked, whether they've been knocked, things like that. And doing that at a precinct level is the best way to do so. Universe counts. So, of course, you want to know how many people do you have, but you're not necessarily just talking person to person. You're talking to people at the doors or on the phones, and it's good to know how many of those that you have as well. Canvas status. So, Canvas and call status are going to be very similar. So, Canvas call date. When did you start calling those? Estimated and real number of turfs or callers needed, based upon how many doors we have, how many turfs are we likely going to cut, and then the real number, how many did it actually end up being. That way you can sort of get an idea of what you need for volunteer capacity. Turf list cut date. When did the list get cut? Because if you're having to do data entry, whether it's from a paper list or if you're putting it in the minivan, lists do expire after 30 days. So you want to make sure you get it knocked within that 30-day window. Precinct status. Have you started doing voter contact on it or not? So not started, in progress, complete are some of the best ways to do that. And then top line totals for the county. That way you know how many voters, doors, phones you have overall in the county for your sort of top line tracker that we saw that was county by county. So now let's go ahead and just build out a tracker. I'm just going to go through these really quick. That way folks can hear them before I actually do them. So once you have your universe, you're going to go into counts and crosstabs. You're going to run a quick counts and crosstabs and hit next, like we see here. And then under column 1, you're going to select county if you have multiple counties in your district. Then under column 2, you're going to select precinct, like you see on the screen, and refresh results will get you the precinct level data for your county or for your district by county. Then once you've done that, again, we're going to click refresh. We're going to see the county, the precinct, and the total number of people per precinct. Then we're going to be able to put that information from counseling crosstabs into an Excel or Google Sheet. We're just going to do a Google Sheet to keep it simple here. The first way that you can do it, and the way that we're going to do it in here, is just copying the data table and pasting it into a spreadsheet. You could also export to Excel, as you see here, to create a spreadsheet of it and then copy and paste it. But the way we're doing it is going to be a little bit quicker and a little bit easier and not require as many downloads. So once you've done that for the people, you can do that for doors and phones as well. Copy and paste that into the spreadsheet. And then once you've done that, you're going to have something that looks like this: your county, your precinct, your total voters, your total doors, your total phones. And once you have got everything in there, go ahead and break it out by county or geographic area. So if you are a state house race or a state senate race, you have multiple counties, put your turf tracker, have various tabs for your turf tracker with separate sheets for separate counties. So now let's just go ahead and go to Vote Builder and do it ourselves. So you'll see I've already got a county setup page. Everyone's going to have access to this, but I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call this County plus Precincts. And I'm just going to go over to Vote Builder. I'm going to create a new list. And let's just do a county that we know is small, or a district that we know has multiple counties, but it's still a small race. So I'm going to select State House 33, or actually let's do 48. I think it has a little bit more of Oldham. So I'm going to do some targeting. That way we don't have that big of a number. So just go 30, 30. So very simple universe, 14,000 people. So once you've done that, again, we've run the list. Let's go to counts and crosstabs. We're going to click Run Quick Counts and Crosstabs. You don't need to do it with a format. Quick Counts and Crosstabs will do it just as quick for you. So go Next. Then under column 1 here, we're going to go to Data Field and we're going to select County. That way we can separate it into Jefferson and Oldham. We'll hit refresh. That way folks can see the difference. So right now we just have 13. We'll call it close to 14,000 in Jefferson, a little over 1,100 in Oldham. Now, if we want to go ahead and, since we want to go ahead and break it out by precinct, we'll go back to Data Field in column 2 and select Precinct. So you should see column 1, County, Precinct under column 2. Hit refresh, and now we will have our universe broken out into the various precincts, as you can see here. A lot of them are in Jefferson. We have 3 in Oldham. And now, instead of having to do an export, we can just do highlight everything, hit copy, Control C. Don't worry about total people, and we can just come over here into our spreadsheet, so our Google Sheet, hit paste, and ta-da, we have broken it down into the county precincts. Now, to get doors and phones, we just do the same thing. So where it says people, we're going to do doors. We're going to hit refresh results. Now we have how many doors there are. Again, just copy and paste everything. Control C, move over here. In column D, just paste everything in. And you'll see everything matches up because we have the same amount of counties, or same amount of precincts. And one last time, we're just going to go to phones, click refresh, highlight everything, and Control C. And now, since we're going to have a couple of columns that are repetitive, like county precinct, we can just get rid of those completely. So just highlight those and delete columns D and E, highlight E and F, get rid of those. And now we have something that looks like we were shown a few minutes ago. That looks like what we would want. So now, of course, we can go ahead and go back to our slide deck and see where we're at. So in just a few quick steps, we've gotten through steps 1 through 7 together. And now to go ahead and build out the various counties, we can just, let's just use Oldham County here, for instance. We can just go over here to County Setup. Let's just create a duplicate of this. That way folks will have access to the blank sheet. Drag it to the right, call it Oldham, and precincts. So we're just going to copy these precincts here, and we're going to paste it in here. And then you can do the same thing for voters, doors, and phones. Just copy these three right here, paste them in here, and you've got it done. I'm just going to delete these extra ones. That way we have a complete sheet. And now, because these columns here for estimated number of turfs and colors needed are already formatted, it is already calculated. So for Briar Hill, it looks like we would estimate 8 total turfs, Clore 3, and North 22 7. And similar for estimated number of collars. Then here, to get this, I have it already set up and formatted, but if you want to have the drop downs, you just go to data validation, list of items, not started, in progress, completed, and just hit save. And that will show all of those. You can do some formatting in here to get these how you want them to be for conditional formatting. So if text contains not started, red, doot. So now not started is going to be a very, very Republican red. If you want to do text contains in progress to show that you're working on it, you can have it be an orange, doot. And if you have it, for instance, text contains complete, you can have it be a blue color. So now that we've got that, so not started we talked about, in progress, and now completed. Let me double check this real quick. Conditional formatting. Conditional format. Completed. Now we can do that. So not started, in progress, completed, and you'll see what the various ones look like. And from that, you can just copy, paste that over here. Same with over here, and you will be having got your very first county done for your turf tracker. So while the steps might make it feel daunting, hopefully folks realize it's pretty easy. And as you need to, you would just go ahead, duplicate this sheet for Jefferson, drag it over, Jefferson, just drag this, doot, and just copy all of these. If we can like just get the ones we need, that'd be great. And do that, and do that. And since there's more counties now, we can just double click this little blue box down here, and that's going to fill in everything. So do that. And for these, you'd have to drag and drop. However, that one didn't work, but yeah. So with this, we've already started building out our turf tracker, and now, well, these are not how we want them to be, we can just copy, paste it all into here, and drag that down. And now if you don't have to drag it down again, you just go Control C, Control V, Control V, and you can do this even. So like there's very quick ways just to get everything matched up how you need it. When in doubt, drag and drop, or do the drag in the sheet in the ranges, and it will fill in the information for you. With that, we've pretty much set up our first turf tracker together. But now that we have gotten this done, let's talk about what else we can do with it. But before that, let's just go on and talk about precinct density rank, what those are. I know we mentioned them a little bit in the targeting presentation. Now we're just going to go over it a little bit again very quickly. That way folks can sort of see how it interacts with this. So with our density ranks, or precinct density ranks, we're manipulating the precinct size, the voter registration total, to calculate people per square mile. From that, we're standardizing the precinct density on a 0 to 100 scale. That way, the 3,000 precincts aren't ranked 1 to 3,000 something. They're just on a 0, meaning least dense, 100, meaning most dense, to help put that into a scale that folks are already familiar with thanks to scores. And these are loaded in at the person level under scores, but people that are in the same precinct are always going to have the same score. You're not going to have someone in A101 that has a 50, someone else that has a 75. These are built at the precinct level and then mapped to the person level using precinct ID. So with this, again, like as you cut your walk lists at the precinct level or other lists like your phone lists, you're going to be able to calculate density. Calculating density at this level is going to give you a direct comparison of targets per precinct with your density. And by bringing over precinct names, we're going to be able to match the density rank within the turf tracker. That way you're not having to like copy and paste or anything. You're able to use some very simple Excel functions. Yeah, like having these is going to be very, very beneficial in helping campaigns build out their precinct prioritization, whether that's based upon precinct density, a combination of density and how many people there are, things like that. It would be much simpler now that we're bringing this data in. So with that, our precinct density rank report is accessible via this link here. So you'll just click open a new tab, and we're going to go over to this tab together. And this is going to give you the map, the rank. So we're just going to go into the actual report. That way we're able to more easily download it, and it's going to be a little bit larger for you all to see. We're just going to go over here to precinct list. Since we're doing House District 48, we can just narrow to 48. That's going to give us all the precincts in it, all 32. And now for this, we're just going to go over here to this top. So we're just going to go over here to the top right-hand corner of the data table, hit this drop down and hit export. And it's going to ask how do we want to export it. Let's just do it as a CSV, do an export here. And it's going to download it for me. And I'm just going to go ahead, pull this up. And I believe everyone can still see it. So now, sort of like we did with the counts and crosstabs, we can honestly just copy and paste all of this. So let's go Control C. And just moving back into our slide deck, we're going to create a new sheet. We'll call this density, if I can drag and drop it. precinct density. We're just going to paste that right in here. So that is bringing everything in. Since we have a limited number of precincts and we're within the same house district, we can go ahead and just do a quick VLOOKUP to match these. So we're through here. So, and we have copied and pasted our precinct ranks in, as shown here. So, our next step before we start doing any VLOOKUP, let's just go back to our spreadsheet, and under Jefferson and Oldham, let's just add 2 new columns. We're going to insert to the left, and I'm going to merge these. That way it's the same size. We'll call this the first column state rank, the second column county rank, and we're going to just go over here to Oldham County. We're going to do the same thing, enter there, merge these, that way they're the same size, and we're going to call this state rank again, county rank again, and now we've got it formatted how we need to do it. So to match the precincts in the county sheet with those under the precinct rank sheet, we're just going to use a very simple VLOOKUP that we're going to see on the next slide. So to match these precincts, campaigns can use the following equation for the state match equals VLOOKUP, looking up A4, which is the cell that you want to match. We're going to be looking in precinct ranks B through F, which is the references the range you want to search for the match. 5, that's going to be how many columns, that's going to be under which column that you have selected is the data going to be. Then you're going to have a comma and a blank space here. Don't just go ahead and leave the trailing comma. It's it basically goes ahead and puts a space and says it's the last thing that is optional we're not going to put in, and you really don't need to worry about. So folks here can just copy and paste this in. I'm just going to go through it one more time. That way folks can view what I'm doing, can get an idea of what I'm doing. So equals VLOOKUP. If you're using Google Sheets, if you put in VL, it's going to autofill it for you. So once you got that, you just say A4, or you can even just go here and click A4, comma. Now which range do we want to look for? We can just go over here to precinct density. We know that we're matching on the precinct name, which is column B, and we want to find the state rank. So we're just going to go all the way over to F, which is the very final row, comma, and we know we want to return the value that is in row F, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows over. I'm going to hit comma, which by leaving it blank, it's basically saying false. I'm going to close the brackets, and now state rank has been filled in, and we can just go over here to county and do the same thing. So equals VLOOKUP A4 precinct density, and we want county again, so we're going to go B, C, and D. We don't have to go all the way over to F since we're just needing the county rank, comma, 1, 2, 3, third column, comma, leave it blank, close the bracket or close the parentheses, and you've got it done. Now to apply that, we're just going to see this little box right here. We're going to click it to where we got a plus, and we're going to drag down. And now we have filled in the state and county rank for the rest of them. And let's just do something where we can do a sort. So let's go sort up, freeze into that. So if we wanted to sort by county rank, we could just go this, sort A to Z. And now we will see North 22 is the highest, is the most dense precinct that we got in Oldham County for this house district. So if we want, we can go over to Jefferson, do the same thing. You don't even actually have to type in the equation. If you just hit Control C, go over to Jefferson, plug it in here, it's going to autofill it in, Again, you can just drag and drop all the way down, and it's going to fill it in. And we've brought over the ranks. Let's just go ahead and freeze this up to that row. We can sort A to Z. So we can now see that precinct 131, 48, so S131 is the most dense precinct in House District 48 in Jefferson County. That was 483 votes total. We see that there's a larger precinct, precinct 160, that is 258 and has 1,000 voters. So while this might be larger, it's probably going to have a lot more spacing out of voters. So let's just go ahead and look at what that actually, see how that works out. So we're going to go here. I'm just going to go back to my list, and this isn't something you all need to necessarily follow along with. But if you've built one out and you want to see this in action, you can do it as well. So I'm going to just go to narrow. Jefferson 48. And we said it is S131 that we're looking for here. So we've got this 483 people, 483 people. Great. Run the search. And now let's just go into cut turf and see what it looks like. That is a pretty square area. And looks like it would be easy to cut. Very, very simple, very grid-like pattern here close to Tom Sawyer State Park. So yeah, that would make sense why it is the most dense, quote unquote, even though it has 483. Now let's just look at what S160 looks like to see why it might have 1,000 people but be more spread out based upon density. So I'm going to go back to narrow people. S160. Refresh. 1,000 people. All right, now let's see. Cut turf. So as you can see, it's a little, the precinct covers a much larger area. Still pretty grid-like that you do have these houses over here that are probably a little bit more spaced apart. These over here look fine, but I'm going to say if there's a culprit for why it's more spread out, it's going to be this section over here. And let's just, for the sake of it, look at the satellite. So yeah, pretty grid-like over here. This one has some roundabouts, some courts, little more spacing out between houses than over here where they're basically stacked on top of each other. So I know this is just a very rough overview, but by having these county and state ranks, you're going to have a better idea of how large a precinct is, how densely populated it is. That way you can better utilize your resources when it comes to door knocking or phone calling. For instance, if we went down here, and let's just do one more. So precinct 125 has 682 folks, but it's close to the bottom of the list. So this one probably still going to be dense. It's not going to be rural per se, but it'd be one that might be a little bit wiser to phone call versus door knock. And we said this is S125. So S125, 682 folks. And right that. So yeah, this is the prospect area. So you still have some folks that are going to be easy to walk in this area, but you have folks out here that you'd have to drive a long distance for down here. So again, just using these precinct ranks is going to let you know that some places you might not be able to necessarily knock all the doors. And again, it's going to help you strategize and best utilize your resources when it comes to that. So again, when you need to match the precinct density up to your turf tracker, just use these simple equations and it will basically do it for you. There might be a little bit of tinkering, but hopefully between the video, the slide deck, and the actual Google Sheets, you'll be able to quickly troubleshoot and get the code to work for you. And now, again, once you've got the first precinct row matched with its rank, you can just apply these values to the rest of the sheet by dragging down on this little square box in the bottom right to fill in the remaining values. So with all of this in mind, here's what the finished product will look like, and you'll have the finished product that we just created together. With state and county ranks in the tracker, you're going to be able to sort on this precinct density like we just did to determine best places for canvassers to knock, even places that you want to call or text. Or if you are in a very urban area, you might be able to use some of these to more easily identify places that are precincts that have apartments. I know the top ranked precinct that we have district or statewide had like 50,000 people per square mile because it's a very tiny land area that has a apartment complex. So you can even use this to sort of get an idea of where those apartment complexes might be. So again, I think trying to just hammer this home, ranks are going to help your campaign more easily identify precincts that may be more rural and less walkable. So those are going to be your lower state and county ranks, and those that are more suburban or urban and are more likely to be walkable, so the higher state and county ranks. So hopefully some of the key takeaways that folks are going to get from this is a turf tracker is very important. It's going to help you keep your voter contact efforts organized. Going to help not only for yourself, but other members of your team, or even other campaigns that you might be working with. And then with that, hopefully you've learned how to, through the steps that we did together, how to build your turf tracker using counts and crosstabs and put those into a Google Sheet. That way you can have it, get it formatted right in an easy to use format. And last but not least, taking these precinct ranks that you have at the person level, reapplying them back to the precinct level with your universe counts to help you with your precinct prioritization. With that, I know this has been a longer training, but hopefully it's been, folks have found it beneficial, and it's something that they can use when it comes time to build out your voter contact plan, build out your turf tracker, and precinct prioritization when it comes to door knocking, making phone calls, all of that. With that, I'm going to let everyone go, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.